I
I'm
really
gonna
don't.
go really woo-woo here. So here's an
Go
article
woo.
talking about potatoes from tomatoes, popular starchy vegetable derived from ancient interbreeding. Researchers say, obviously not interbreeding, according to them, because this happened millions of years ago. So it wasn't like a genetics lab, taking two different species of plants and combining them to make a new plant. Supposedly just wild, unrelated plants interbreeding and exchanging genes. Now, why would this happen? And, I bring up this idea of speciations and cosmic rays, rapid acceleration and mutations. If the government knew that that's a reality that happens every so often, maybe, like 40,000 years ago or 42,000 years ago, when seemingly the same thing happened, there's mass extinction. But on the other hand, there's also mass speciation. There's all these species that pop up and they don't know how they kind of mutate. That's why when you get into anthropology and, study of fossils and different stuff, you find out there really is no missing links. They can't find missing links from one animal to the next animal. They find one animal and then they find another animal that's completely different and they try to link it, because you can see that it seems to be related, but there's no missing link, right? There's not a missing link there. And I think this is the reason, because every so often or periodically you get cosmic rays that cause plants and animals to do strange things, maybe speciate, go extinct, or even mate. Somehow, maybe there's a mechanism between the plants that know that one of them is going to go extinct, and somehow they have this genetic changeover. So this article gets into talking about how this specific gene that's needed to make a tuber came from another plant and somehow got into this plant. And my mind goes wild, so I'm thinking cosmic ray speciation, mutation, or the most obvious answer is someone was around to actually genetically combine these two plants to make what we call a potato today. So yeah, that's right. So now they are saying that they have proven that hybridization events between species can spark evolution of new traits, allowing even more species to emerge. And this is out of a Chinese study that was studying the history of the potato, and they linked it back to tomato plants millions of years ago. So to wrap your head around that, if that kind of thing happens in what obviously they're saying is without the presence of man-made intervention, or man-made, I guess you would call that engineering. Um, how did it happen? How did two species just combine? And we find the same thing in nature with hybridization between animals. Some of them, like the howler monkey, has two different chromosome numbers, and there's a hybridization population in between it, where a bunch of hybrids of two different kind of howler monkeys with two different, sets of chromosomes has mixed to make a new animal, and neither original animal accepts the new animal, right? So it's now being seen in plant history, that just different species are combining, breeding, whatever you want to call it, genetic transfer. And without trying to go too far woo woo, that there was maybe, I don't know, some Anunnaki or something around a couple million years ago, deciding which plants to mix because they had some kind of knowledge of genetic information and how you could mix that, then you have to leave it to natural phenomenon. And I can only point my finger to right there, a magnetic reversal, evolutionary leaps due to cosmic rays penetrating our magnetic field, mutating DNA and RNA down on the planet. And now with recent discoveries, we're discovering RNA, DNA building blocks in nebulas out in space. I don't know if you saw the recent article that proved that a meteorite had all the building blocks for RNA and DNA right in it. So that puts a lot of, bump on the panspermia idea. But it might not even be, that complicated where you're waiting on rocks from interstellar sources to bring life to new solar systems. It literally might come about from cosmic radiation just hitting these building blocks, causing some kind of, some symmetry that ends up being life. I mean, think about the complexities of how the energy system is, like from magnetics to electricity. It's one of the most complicated things that we know about, other than life, like DNA. That's another complicated thing we can't explain. But it may be that just energy, literally pure energy interacting with other matter, creates life. And now we're getting to that point that we, like this article talking about two different species combining to build what just so happens to be what feeds most of the world, or at least partially, are tubers. Tubers are big in Africa, and they track it all back to Peru, right? So something was happening in Peru. We don't know what, but if you judge it by, later things that happened, it seems to be somebody was playing with, all the way up until recent times. I could, cite stuff about 3,000 years ago where they have reeds from Egypt growing around Lake Titicaca. You have, for whatever reason, they have those horsefish, or what do you call them? What do you call them? Seahorses, right? They don't belong there. They belong in the ocean, but yet they're up there at Titicaca. But not only that, you find bananas and potatoes spreading around all over the place. So there's stuff that's over in Easter Island that could have only come from Peru. And this is before they were saying they were going across the ocean. So even back a million years, millions of years, interbreeding was happening between plants and animals that are unexplainable in the format of knowledge that we have now.
Yeah, I was trying to get to, I know Penny Kelly, and she'd done a lot of research on using electrified plates to change seeds back to their original state. And I don't know the exact amperage, voltage, frequency that they're putting in there, but the person she was studying under, they would put these seeds under two electrified plates, and they would come out with 16 ears of corn off of a plant back to the original. And I knew Robert Felix, and he talked about these massive changes of, this magnetic field. Once it gets to a certain point, things are, electrically changed beyond recognition. And this is where you get those jumps. The very next generation being born has a completely different, DNA pattern in it. So it's not as if, it takes 1 million years or 10 million years to go from a dinosaur to a bird. It's like, wham, that thing happens the very next generation. Now, the thing he was trying to determine was, if something was in the womb at that time, would it be affected enough to have its chromosomes change during the birth process? Like, let's say it was early in the gestation period, first 1 to 2 months, and the cosmic ray effect had come through. Would that be enough for the birth of that animal? And whatever animal, it would be the gamut of it. Would it come out as a new species at that time if it was early enough in the gestation period? Obviously, if it's coming around, halfway or further on the third trimester for, humans or whatever it would be, animal that you want to look at, if it's further along on that development period, then it would come out as either stillborn or something along the old lineage that would be, and then everything from that point forward, that would be the last of its, what you consider species born, the very last one. And everything from that point forward, literally the very next day, anything that was born after that and any impregnation of any animal from that point forward would be a completely different species. And that's why, like you said, there's no constant where you're looking for this evolutionary chain and Darwin garbage that they talk about. It is evolutionary leaps. And it's all caused by depleting magnetic field and this slamming of galactic cosmic rays onto us, or the plant life, or the aquatic life, or the mammal life, whatever it is. It changes it instantly to the point where, are we going to have this great spiritual awakening? It's beyond that. We're going to become a new species with a new brain, literally, as this evolves through. Is this what the governments are planning? Are they trying to stay underground deep enough? And I know galactic cosmic rays, they penetrate all the way through the planet. They go all the way through. But is there some sort of shielding if they're 2 miles down, 5 miles down, 10 miles down, 15, 50 miles down beneath the crust. And some of you laugh and go, no, they can't even drill that deep because it's going to be too hot. Well, there's a lot of caverns that are that deep into our planet. So if you're 50 miles down, do you think the shielding of 50 miles of rock above you versus being on the surface during one of these events? Yeah, there's going to be a gigantically different outcome from that. But if they are doing simple experiments by running electric current through 2 plates on what you consider just heirloom seeds that you can buy anywhere, not the GM, but heirloom seeds, put them in an electrified state and then regrow those, and they come into a completely different thing, species, quantifiable difference on how many, stalks, tubers, like you're talking about with the potatoes. I mean, that's verifiable science as we speak right now. So can you imagine on a grand planetary scale where that takes us in terms of change? Oh my gosh, we're so far past, and I think we're going somewhere. These last weeks and months of massive floods, along with those 2 naked eye novas, really, really kind of set it home that we're into the galactic cosmic ray sea of change right now. And, Robert, he passed away, and shortly after COVID started, he passed away in I'm going to say 2021. This is not a toothpaste. It's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts. Alfa Vedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization.
I don't know if you remember, probably 15 years ago, one of the first types of gene modification techniques was to fire genes from another plant at almost light speed into another plant. And then the DNA would embed itself into that plant, changing it, becoming a genetically modified organism. So if you think about the two layers of how possibly this could go about, so you had fields of seeds, and it's intermixed with different species. The species are next to it. And then you get some kind of actual physical blast that penetrates the atmosphere into the sun. You would get equivalent to that experiment where genes from certain plants may fire over into some seeds that were still viable. And then when they grew, they would have extra genetics from this event that happened, like, I don't know, an airburst of an impact crater or something like that. There's various ways that could happen. But then you have the other hand that's just direct genetic change directly from the particles entering into the organism and then changing the DNA strands by either damaging it or changing it in some way. And that's kind of why I brought that up. I mean, without genetic intervention, how do you explain 2 different plants exchanging a gene and then producing a new food plant that was never on the planet before that? It seems like there would be some kind of design, associated with that. But when you keep this idea in mind that it's very possible for your epigenetics, your regular genetics, all of this to change because of your environment, including the magnetic field, including cosmic rays, but not just that. Literally, the stuff that's going on, like, I don't know, all of your children's brains being rewired, or a fourth of the population, having issue with the big C there because of whatever it is that they're eating that's causing this. And then you can just, you start going down the lines of different things. Everyone has hemorrhoids now. But why is that? I mean, like,
I
the
don't,
whole
though, but I'm moving all the time, though,
well,
so
that's part of it, but part of it is their diet. The diet's causing this irregularities in their digestive tract, and sitting on their butt. So you imagine these millions of people that are about to be replaced by AI are just about to break out into the world and then have all their health problems that are not going to be covered because the AI also determines that they led a sedentary life and didn't eat right.
please remember civilizationcycle.com, and also buy me a coffee /civilization cycle.